I'm Jake. My background is in marketing and media. I led the media strategy for Netflix, launching in the UK at one of the world's largest agencies. Started my boutique agency, scaled it, exited it. Now I help startups and small businesses with entrepreneurial marketing challenges ultimately. So scaling challenges, finding their right customers, acquiring them, ensuring that they're profitable and that kind of stuff.
What are some of your learnings working with these renowned brands?
I think there are absolutely some things that you can learn from the big boys, and one of those is customer segmentation. Netflix did this really well. They had defined customer segments where they would define a specific audience, a very niche audience, and then they would create a marketing campaign that was tailored specifically to them, and then a journey that was tailored to them. So as an example, one of them was new parents, and specifically new mothers. Tended to be the mother that stayed at home on maternity leave, up in the middle of the night with the kid. The campaign idea was to acquire them as customers because they had time where they were breastfeeding and time where they potentially would have, it needed some kind of distraction, like a show. It enabled Netflix to cut deep, so their creative and messaging could be super relevant to this niche audience and enable them to cut through and give them something that was far more relevant than a general marketing campaign.
What should brands consider the most when trying to achieve growth using the latest or best digital sales and marketing strategies and techniques?
Yeah, that's a tricky question because there are so many different brands out there, and the purchase journey of customers versus clients, B2C versus B2B, and high value versus low value products, it differs massively, but you've got to ultimately develop a marketing approach and a journey that resonates with the specific customer journey. And for me, that comes back to understanding the journey that the customer actually goes through. And the more data you have around the customer journey, the more you can develop and match assets to that journey. And often you'll see this in your analytics, where you may be doing loads of awareness-led marketing, you might be very present on social, and you might have some really nice bottom of funnel assets where if you're a B2B lead generation as an example, you might have some really good demos and a really good sales team and a good inquiry process and a good website. But if they're not married up with really strong middle of funnel assets to essentially actually use a journey and give people what they need in the moment, you won't end up converting them. So ultimately it's about, for me, rather than giving you a kind of direct, nice and cookie-cutter answer, it's got to be specific to the brand. And if you can understand that customer journey, you will be able to much more effectively develop marketing and assets and collateral that enables you to acquire more customers. If that makes sense?
What is the one thing that is missing in B2B SaaS growth strategies in your experience?
It differs from brand to brand, but the biggest thing I see is a lack of customer segmentation and understanding. So particularly B2B, they'll have an ideal customer target profile or a target audience, and then they'll have segmented that down to 3 or 4 personas, but ultimately that's not enough. And let's say your target market is 5 million people. Rather than trying to divide that into a third or a quarter and have 3 or 4 audience segments, instead try and find what your highest value customers actually look like, and rather than going for, let's find the 25% of our customers that are highest value, try and find the 2% that are highest value. It might only be 4 or 5 customers. What that will then tell you is what's their industry, what's their location, what does their business look like, what are the decision makers within that business, what is the sales process for those specific companies, and you can then go and speak to them if you're existing customers or if they're leads, or if it's a hypothesis and that you don't have any customers in that space yet. Speak to those customers, find out what they need, find out why they would buy from you, why they wouldn't buy from you, if they are existing customers, why they did buy from you, and really understand what makes them tick. Going back to that Netflix example from earlier, you can create marketing campaigns, you can create assets collateral that's tailored to them specifically, and that's going to cut so much deeper and give them so much more value than your competitors will. Because your competitors are focused on a much broader audience and you're super niche. And what that enables you to do is, while that will terrify some companies because your reach will go down, what it will do is it will enable you to get in front of buyers who will actually buy your product. So your conversion rate will go through the roof. Scary to do, but It's a much more effective way of marketing, and obviously in the world of AI, you can speed up the process of production massively. So instead of being broad and generic, be incredibly niche and narrow and targeted.
Yeah. If you were to shift a little bit the focus towards organic content campaigns,
Yep.
why are organic content campaigns important in your opinion, and who should consider this strategy?
It's not free marketing, but it's free marketing. I have to pay for ads. That's massive. Organic marketing is, for me, the foundation of any good marketing strategies to start with. Organic marketing, it's the best acid test. If people engage with your message and want to engage with your content, you're onto a winner with your product and you're onto a winner with what you're talking about. It gives you, in my opinion, a much better test bed than paid. So any paid ads, you can hide behind the metrics unless you are optimizing towards a sale. If you're optimizing towards a lead, you do not know the quality of the leads you're getting in. You're getting very cheap leads, but they're rubbish quality. And so it's very difficult to gauge the impact unless you're optimizing to something that determines a quality lead. When you are creating organic content, people will only take the action in the content. So that might be to engage with a lead magnet, it might be to book a demo, it might be to inquire, download something. They'll only do that if they're really engaged with the content, and you're not going to produce content that isn't relevant to your product. So from my standpoint, like, organic content is the fundamentals of marketing. It's where the test bed should be rather than paid ads, where test bed can be run, but it's very difficult to do it right.
Yeah.
So having a strong content strategy is ultimately far higher value than investing in a load of ads, because it's evergreen to an extent, but based on the midterm, you're going to get value from that for a long period of time. If you've got an article that ranks well on search, it's going to rank well on ChatGPT. You're going to, irrespective of how people navigate to content, you're going to get value out of that for the long term.
Yeah.
So getting that right, and again being niche and segmented, is insanely valuable.
When you say rank on ChatGPT well, you mean appear in ChatGPT search engine?
For context, ChatGPT at this time of recording, uses Bing as a search engine. So if you're ranking on Bing, you're ranking on ChatGPT, essentially. But if you're ranking on Google, you're also ranking on Bing.
Really?
Make good content, don't really worry about where it's going to appear. Ensure you're ticking the boxes in terms of being visible on search, it's not tricky to do, and Google Search Console, that kind of thing, and ensure that you are focused on solving people's problems,
Yeah.
and it will appear.
The next question is around the scenario. Let's imagine there is a brand that has created a lot of organic content, but maybe they're not seeing that conversion or completion to sales. What would be your advice? What are the most common blockers in their funnels?
It's a lack of understanding of the customer journey. So normally the feeling is that if I drive people to my site and they are there, they'll find their way to sale, and that's not the case. Driving them to site might be enough to get them to convert, but that's only in a very short purchase journey. It's only when someone will see something and purchase it or become a lead if they've got that need at that time. The best way to do it is to try and, again, map that user journey. There's lots of different ways to do that, map that purchase journey, and create assets that enable you to move people down that. That's quite strategic and doesn't mean a lot without some examples behind it. As an example, you might create a really good bit of content, you're ranking well on search and you're getting traffic to it, but you're not getting any inquiries or you're not getting any demos booked. That may be because, again, you need to validate this, but it may be because it's too much of a jump. What you might have created content on is something that people are searching for earlier in their purchase journey. They're looking to articulate their pain or their problem or their need or what they would look for in a provider or a service or a product, but they're not yet ready to take the step to go, all right, I'm happy with you as a potential provider and I'm ready to speak to someone, or I'm ready to have a demo or whatever it is. The way to combat that, if you're getting them to your site to content, is to capture their data. That's the holy grail, right? You want to capture their data. So to do that, you might have lead magnets that are around like a white paper or something really detailed. It might be like, find the right piece of furniture for you, or it might be a demo. So it's something that's really detailed to that person. But if someone's not that far in their purchase journey, if they're not ready to consider buying yet, you need to create lead magnets and assets that are relevant for earlier in that purchase journey. So that might be a short little quiz. Answer these 5 questions and find your best colour palette. Or do you need X solution or Y solution, or what kind of personality are you? Something that's a bit lighter and a bit easier to digest. A checklist, a 3-page best practice guide, something like that that is not throwaway, it's still valuable. It enables you to capture the data, but it gives them value in that moment and answers a question or a pain that they've got without taking a lot of time and commitment from them, or without telling them, by the way, if you fill this in, we are going to be all over you like a rash to try and make the sale. So ensuring that you've got lead generation assets through the purchase journey that match where that customer is.
Okay, that's amazing. Bridge the gap.
There you go.
What are the best fixes in the funnel you saw achieving the most growth on?
It might be that you're not generating enough leads and you convert a lot of them. There'll be loads of businesses who have a lead deficiency, and they'll tell you, when I speak to someone, I convert 70% of the time. Great, fantastic. The reason they're converting 70% of the time is because all their leads are coming from referrals, because their digital assets aren't working hard enough to get them enough quality leads. And in that instance, it is about lead generation, but it's also about lead qualification. So you want to be able to generate more leads, but you also want to pick and choose the leads that you actually speak with and you actually want to sell to. So ensuring that you've got something to generate the leads and then some way of qualifying them and filtering out those that will become poor quality customers versus those that will become really high quality customers is really important. And there are tons of ways in which you can do that. And then conversely, none of them actually converting into sales. Sometimes that's actually about the product might be over here and the lead generation asset isn't close enough to it, it's not relevant enough. You're generating leads about something quite different, and when customers try and make the jump, when you're emailing them saying, are you interested in this product or the service, they're like, why is that relevant to what I've just done? So you've just generated a lead magnet that's generating leads, great, but they're not relevant. So often that's a problem with content strategy. Your content isn't close enough to your product or service.
Another gap. What did you see work well in digital sales funnels to complete more sales?
In that instance, someone's already generating leads and sales then get involved, depending on the size of the business. It might be one person, it might be whole different teams, and you might have marketing qualified leads and then sales qualified leads. If the business is generating leads, the number one problem with lead conversion tends to be insufficient qualification. That is the business not fundamentally knowing whether they're a good quality lead. So how much time should they spend? And again, that can be really easily fixed. You could have a questionnaire that enables the customer to get something really valuable at the end and learn something about themselves and articulate their pain or their problem or their challenge better. And in there you've got a couple of qualification questions. How big is your business? How big is your team? Whatever you need to know in order to determine they're a good customer, they're not.
If you had a magic wand, what is the one thing you would make every brand implement in their organic content?
The obvious one, isn't it? Yeah, just if they're not doing it, they're going to get left behind. You either are a surfer of the wave or you get washed out to sea. And you've got to be insanely proficient with these things. You've got to be at the cutting edge, and if you're not, you're going to miss out on opportunities. So AI being one of them. The other part, and we touched on this earlier, but customer understanding. So if you don't have a real clarity of who your customer is, what their pains are, their main problems are that you can help them with, then your organic strategy won't be as impactful as it could be. So that customer understanding, deep customer understanding underpinning organic is crucial in my opinion.
What are the best ways to collect warm inbound email addresses?
It massively depends on the business, but developing a really strong organic strategy and developing lead magnets and then testing those lead magnets. If our brands aren't doing that, there's something really wrong. You've got to be good at that, otherwise again you're going to get left behind. What I would avoid is paid marketing as much as possible, even though I'm a paid marketing specialist. It's one of the things I specialise in my career. For lead gen, tends to be not amazing. Partnerships can be absolutely transformational for businesses. So if you can partner with the right brands or creators, that can be an amazing way for you to get exposure to your brand, but also a load of data. And then there are more growth hacky ways that you can achieve that. So there are lots of tools that enable you to scrape LinkedIn and essentially mine data. You've got to be careful with that stuff because it can be detrimental to your brand perception. It's not always a positive thing for people to hear from you. Be really careful about how you engineer those communications. There's things like LinkedIn outreach where you can automate connecting with people and then messaging them.
We hear a lot about top, middle and bottom funnel content. What is that and how would you advise brands to leverage the concept?
I'd encourage brands not to think of top, middle and bottom of funnel. When, as a brand, we think, I'm going to create a lovely funnel and someone's going to go through it. And then finally they're going to get to the point where they make a purchase decision. They're going to choose me rather than another brand. It typically doesn't happen like that. And if you switch your thinking away from the funnel and more to a customer journey, it ends up being a lot more related to the customer, and you create better assets and build a better journey. So in a customer journey, you typically would have a trigger point where they start looking for something or are interested or engaged. And this is just as relevant to buying a house, to buying a can of Coke, to choosing a B2B software provider. So there's always a trigger point. There's a trigger point where they're wanting something, needing something, or have a pain or a problem that they want fixed. And at that point, they will start their customer journey. They won't always go to the point of purchase. They may very well drop out. So as an example, if I was thinking of buying a jacket, my trigger point might be I've gone down to have a beer with a friend and I've seen he's got a really nice jacket, and I go, when I get home, I'm going to search for one of them because I love them. I start searching, I go, it's £150, too expensive. I go back to the beginning of that purchase journey. I see in the next week, I'm like, no, I really do want this. I know it's £150. I'm going to go and start searching for different options. I compare, and then eventually I might make a purchase decision between two brands. That journey is applicable to absolutely everything, and what you can't control is the middle of funnel. You can control exposing people to your brand and making them aware, and you can control how many people convert that are already engaged and are coming to your owned assets like your website. What you can't control is moving them through the funnel. The best way to think about this, and the way I'm thinking about it at least at the moment, is develop super creative top of funnel assets that enable you to drive people to your brand. Use them for ads, use them for partnerships, any external marketing. Then develop the strongest possible middle of funnel consideration phase assets you possibly can. Organic social should be the absolute factor of this. So like content, really good quality video, distribute it on all the relevant channels, on TikTok, on YouTube and anywhere else that people can search and find content. Create things like quizzes that enable them to diagnose their problems. Create checklists and downloads and guides that enable them to give you their contact detail when they find relevant assets. And then when they get down the bottom of the funnel, give them multiple options to be able to buy or contact you. So don't force them into a demo, because some people might not want that. So give them options to be able to explore based on where they are. They might be ready to buy, but they might not. They might just be like, I'm interested in this. Funnel is what businesses think about. Customer journey is what people actually go through. Try and move your thinking to the customer, to the consumer, and it enables you to create better marketing.
Who would you recommend marllm platforms with organic content? Why would you recommend marllm platform to anyone? Who's the ideal user?
There's multiple reasons to use it. Time savings absolutely massive. If you don't have a platform to do this for you, it's a pain. To have to go and research your relevant keywords and what you want to go after, then you'd have to have a custom SEO prompt, you'd have to amend it, you'd have to write your content, then you'd have to upload it to your platform, you'd have to figure out what your lead magnets are, implement them into your content, post it to your platform. It's all very doable, but why would you do that? In my opinion, why would you do that when you can have a platform that automates that entire process for you in a couple of clicks? It makes so much more sense, and you can massively supercharge your content creation. In my opinion, the world is crying out for more solutions like this that don't try and fix everything. They fix a problem that is really niche, really specific, and that can be fixed with multiple disparate tools, but you're catering for an audience that are like, no, I know I need to fix this and I don't have the time to fix it. I want something that's automated and going to give me results as soon as I switch it on. So from my standpoint, it's great. It's exactly what a lot of the businesses that I work for need and are implementing, and I think it's really well positioned in the market to grow and scale really fast.